Enterprise is used for people that knew what was going to happen. They stood there and watched a man beaten to death, stabbed to death, and laughed, did nothing, didn't talk to the police. So if we go out and he kills somebody, we won't be arrested for it. So what you're saying is rubbish. Check your facts.
It depends, though. It really
doesn't depend. It doesn't depend.
It's very important to differentiate between understanding something is not to accept something. So I wouldn't go as far as to agree that young people are frustrated and angry because of specific laws. I think it's the result of generations upon generations of living in a hypocritical, corrupt state. That the real question that should be being asked is, why are these kids reacting in this way?
You know what? We're living in a corrupt state. It's made them go out and steal televisions.
No, not at all. This is the important thing to differentiate. It's to differentiate between understanding something is not to accept it. And the real question that people should be asking, that while there is a minority who might be more politicized of young people who understand, this has not been a riot that has targeted specific businesses for any reason or any political motivation. This is chaos. Yeah. And I'll be the first to say that I completely condemn all of this that's been going on.
I would like to make it clear, perhaps I do condemn everything that is going on. I'm just showing the points that if you don't look deep at the problem, you don't have a baby without having a pregnancy. Riots don't just erupt without there being reasons, and there's been years of reasons coming up to this. I'm not agreeing with them. I don't believe people should go out and riot at all. I'm not saying it's just the joint enterprise.
To try and politicise all this is absolute nonsense. These are vile people who have had no discipline at home, no discipline at school, and they don't like police officers and they don't like the law because they come across them, and this time they've gone too far. And when you watch a television, hold on, you've had your say, when you watch the fact a massive factory burning down, 300 people losing their jobs because that factory is not going to be built for 3 years, and the firemen can't get in to spray it because the police won't allow the firemen in. We should allow the army to protect our policemen and protect our firefighters. We pay the taxes, we pay the council tax. There is nobody speaking for the majority. All we hear is about these scumbags on the street. That's all we talk about.
To bring the army through would only reinforce what young people believe, which is that the police basically
I would be in favour of plastic bullets. I'd be in favour of plastic and rubber
rule of force. The UK police have systematically acted as the biggest gang in the UK, and now they're being dealt with by young people.
And this is what happens. When people speak like this,
and at the same time,
we want to hear your arguments. Okay.
And I believe that what is eventually going to happen is that if this is not contained, it might be a case of too little, too late. And if we look at examples like third world countries, like in the Brazilian favelas, where there is actual war erupting between these two factions, and this is not an attempt to politicize.
I've never heard so much rubbish. In each of these areas in Hackney, there is thousands of teenagers. I know some of them. They're indoors hiding from these thugs. This is a small minority that have no respect. Excuse me. Excuse me.
That's the real question.
Minority that have no respect for their own communities, their families, the law. You know, I don't agree with bringing the army in.
Why do they not have any respect?
Why don't they have any respect for police?
A small minority don't.
Small minority, but they're still part of society. They might marginalise themselves, or they might feel marginalised, but they are still part of society. And it's not good enough to come and just dismiss everything, saying they're just talking rubbish, they have nothing to say, it's not political, they have no intelligence, shoot them all. That doesn't create peace, that creates desolation.
And even to get rid of people.
Okay, Kelvin, should we try and understand this?
No, I don't think we should. What we should do is, it's a good job we have a cabinet minister who's not away on holiday, right? One of the great disgraces here. Cameron's been a disgrace, practising his backhand, while in fact this country was on fire. It's an absolute disgrace by this parliament. It's a disgrace by the whole, everybody just leaving the country. But there is nothing to understand. These people are going to face the full force of the law, and I'm looking to our courts to give them the kind of sentences which will make them quiver, so they weep in the dock when they won't weep at home and they won't weep in the schools.
Let me ask you, Hannes, would that put people off? Would it stop people rioting? That they get sentences that would make them quiver?
I've always been taught if you always do what you've always done, you always get what you've always got. In the 60s, in the 70s, in the 80s, there have been riots, and it keeps coming back. We could lock them up, they'll come out. Their children will grow up. They'll grow up oppressed. They'll grow up.
You mentioned where are the parents, which is a very important point. But there could be another generation of
But we
writers.
also have a justice system that doesn't work. They won't. You know, 45 people were in court this morning. How many were remanded in custody? None. We're talking about the youth. There was a 47-year-old man in court. These are criminals.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, because looking at Highbury Magistrates Court today, those charged included a graphics designer, college students, a university graduate, and a youth worker. These are not dispossessed people.
Definitely. So what we have here is confirmation of the fact that this is a problem that exists generation upon generation. Going back to what my friend was saying, in the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, we lost respect for the police, and now young people have lost fear of the police.
Well, but why is a university graduate, college students, a youth worker, and so on, ending up getting arrested for this kind of stuff?
I wouldn't be able to tell you. Maybe you should ask the politicians who are more equipped.
These guys are all just turning up because there's 55-inch Samsungs going.
Exactly.
They are thieves by any name, and you can get thieves in any parts of society.
Led to this? Where does it come from? What about on the bigger picture? What do they see?
Many of you don't see each other because we can't understand you.
I think many of you have forgotten what those images on television, particularly last night in London, looked like, and how fearful. Round my way, where I work in North London, there's a curry house there. 2 American women tourists having a curry in the front window. Along come these thugs that you defend, smashes in the window.
I'm not defending any thugs, my friend.
Cover them in glass. Cover them in glass. No, my point is that wasn't reported. The number of unreported incidents in London last night were massive.
You did not defend them, but you must accept, surely, a lot of this is greed. This has not got to do with social protest.
I completely agree. It is greed, it's vicious. Where are these kids getting their example from? The early morning the stock market advice was take advantage of people's fear to capitalize on low prices. They look, what are their role models? They see their government invading and taking wherever they want around the world. Where are their role models? There's even the international community is it providing a role model. Where are these kids' parents? Where besides their parents? Where are the role models in this country?
We have taken any kind of authority away. You know, I watched our police last night and I wanted to cry. They stood there, they're frightened to do anything. If a mother, where's the mothers? You know, many of the mothers have lost control, and if one of those showed up on camera and give their 16-year-old a belt round the head for being there, she'd be arrested. There's no authority in schools. These kids, we've done this.
Do you agree with at least some of that there's no authority in schools and that parents are often not there?
I mean, I agree with most of it. I mean, like she said, if someone was to give a child the belt, a slap, they'll get in trouble for it, and some of these children actually need it. I may be controversial for saying that, but some children do need it, and like you said, a lot of it is born out of greed, but we have to understand that this is a society run on greed.
But we live in a society where it's
but this is what's promoted. Just a second. But what's very interesting about what you've said, you're very articulate, you're clearly very bright, you're plugged into the society, you don't defend what they're doing, and you're not doing it. So if all those conditions actually exist, why aren't you doing it? Because you're a decent person. Yes?
No, because I had good parents and I was fortunate enough to grow up with a mum that would do everything and anything and go to the end of the earth. But there's a lot of people out there who are actually at rock bottom. That's why they don't care about trashing their communities, because they've never had anything, so they don't care about anything now.
There's a lot of people out there with nothing that weren't out there.
Yeah, that's true.
That weren't out there.
But isn't that worth understanding then, Kelvin? That's worth understanding, isn't it?
Look, what a disgraceful argument that poverty equals everybody having to act in this way. It is your argument is there is always somebody in society who's going to be criminal. We had hundreds of them out there. I'm looking to the courts. I'm looking to the courts to make them weep when they go in that door.
Listen, you're misunderstanding. Yeah,
no one.
Well, on that,
you are.
On that of misunderstanding.
It's not your newspaper, man. You can't make up what you want here, man. Fix up.
We'll leave it there. Now, it's hardly surprising, of course, that with Parliament in recess, as Kelvin was saying, many politicians, including the Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister and Home Secretary, were all on holiday when the riots began. That has changed as they hurried home, and the Prime Minister asked for Parliament